So good morning, one and all. On behalf of RMK Engineering College, Department of Computer Science and Business System, so I will on the topic bridging the workplace generation gap. So today we have an eminent resource person, Mr. Sairam Murali, Senior Manager Information Security, Alteryx Software India Private Limited. So welcome you, Mr. Sairam.
Thank you, sir.
So now I invite Dr. Kavita ma'am to introduce our chief guest today.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to one and all present here. It is with great honor and pleasure to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to all the esteemed guests and dignitaries, faculty members, and my fellow students present here. Now it gives me immense pleasure to introduce the chief guest of today's event, Mr. Sairam Murali, Senior Manager, Information Security, Alteryx Software India Private Limited, a visionary security leader, mentor, and one of the India's most respected cybersecurity expert. And Mr. Sairam Murali brings with his over 15 years of global experience in the cybersecurity domain, having worked with some of the world's leading organizations such as Snowflake, Intuit, Tata Consultancy Services, HCL, and currently serving as a senior manager in the information security. Throughout his remarkable career, he has consistently demonstrated the ability to build the leader, high-performing security engineering teams, strengthening India's global presence in the cybersecurity landscape. His expertise spans a wide range of critical areas, including strategic security architecture, SecOps, cloud and container security, threat detection and intelligence, security operations and incident response, AAML-driven security innovation. He is also designated by prestigious certifications such as CCIE Security, Certified Ethical Hacker, and Certified Computer Examiner, showcasing both his deep technical mastery and commitment to excellence. Beyond certification, he has published researcher with impactful work on malware optimization, expertise endpoint security, and heuristic robotics. But what truly set Mr. Sairam's expert apart is not just his technical brilliance, it is his passion for mentorship, leadership development, and community building. He is widely admired by empowering young professionals, fostering collaborative learning, and inspiring the next generation of cybersecurity leaders. As a leader, he brings clarity, enthusiasm, and a vision that encourage students to think boldly and impulse innovations. We are truly honored to have such a dynamic, accomplished, and inspiring professional among with us today. I am confident that his presence and insight will be incredibly valuable for all of us, especially for the students of computer science and business system who stand at the intersection of technology, business, and innovation. Please join with me in warmly welcoming our chief guest, Mr. Sairam Murali. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your welcome. Thank you.
Over to you, Sairam, now.
Yeah. Thank you all for inviting me as a guest speaker for this series. I'm truly overwhelmed, not just for the invite, but then being an alumnus of RMKEC 15 years back. And I have been one of the students of Dr. Chidambara Janu sir here, so who has taught me some of the basics that I drive through so and so here, right? So thank you so much, sir. And it's been truly surreal for me to be back after 15 years to give a guest lecture for RMK Engineering College. I'm truly overwhelmed on that. So with no much adios, I think Kavita ma'am has given enough introduction about me, and so thank you so much, ma'am, for inviting me all. So I'll start over to the presentation part. Share my screen. So can you approve my sharing? Thank you. Uh, can you all confirm if you could see my screen sharing?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So I think we will get started. Okay, so today I wanted to cover a different topic altogether, which instead of just going over the security aspects, I would also want to cover the current scenario that the industry is facing towards. Right, we are all gearing up to the AI era, where the traditional software engineering principles are now redefined by AI, how the software engineers approach that whole new arena. And not just the software engineers, right up till the leadership level, there is a kind of scenario that is going over where we are seeing a tremendous shift that is happening across the uh, across the across the screen. So um, so the digital divide, what does that really mean? So digital divide is nothing but the current AI automation, or the industrial revolution 4, which is kind of creating a little bit of a barrier between the experienced folks in the industry to the folks who are just into the who are just into who are just into the uh, who are just venturing into the industry. And now this kind of a shift that is happening, we can see that the people who are coming into the industry to people who are already have established themselves for a quite a long time, and then the senior most leaders in the industry are all in a stage where they have to rethink on how they are going to approach this current scenario that is coming in, where that's where the digital divide that comes in, right from your technological shift and to the psychological shift which is happening within organizations are something which we need to look at. And then how are we looking at solutions that can bridge the gap for that? So this is a little bit overview of what the digital divide is about, and then what are we going to look at for to make what are we going to look at to bridge this gap. So let's look at a little bit of a summary on what we are looking at here, right? So let's start with a big picture. We are currently navigating two tectonic shifts. First, demographics. We have everyone from the silent generation to Gen Z working together. So the ones who are currently venturing into the industry, and then who are already established workforce in the industry. Second, technology. We are moving into the era of agentic AI. Probably like 2 years back, it's all about Gen AI. Now it's more about all autonomous agents that is catering to a lot of changes that is happening now, where software doesn't just write emails but executes workflows, writes your code and maintains and then prepares what is required. And then it is also going to the extent of let's say you want to go probably it's your nighttime that you're going to sleep, then it also makes sure that it wants to it can help you cater through the workflows that you have to complete. Now the new digital divide is what happens. The new digital divide is what happens when these two shifts collide. It's an iceberg. We see the device gap above the water, but the real dangers are below. So everyone is now seeing at a superficial level, but then but the in-depth of what is happening is still to be explored, right? Or people have not been given a bigger perspective towards that. Tech shame in young workers are eminent now. They fear obsolescence in when there are older workers in the organizations, and a massive skill gap as well. This isn't just an shift, but then it's an $8.8 trillion economic anchor caused by disengagement, which we are seeing in the near future, which accounts to 9% of the global GDP as well. Now, what is our exact goal? How are we going to turn this friction into fuel? How are we going to uh, make this kind of a change to an hybrid intelligent team is also some of the focus areas for many organizations nowadays. let's look at a demographic landscape, right? So how people were, and then what are the current trend that we are seeing. So first, the trend of is the silent generation and the boomers, where they hold the institutional memory, the why behind every business decision. So let's say a company is going to invest in sales, or are going to invest in acquiring a company. This silent generation or the experienced leaders in the industry are the ones who know that why that shift is required, what are the concurrent business decisions that falls behind that, and when that acquisition is going to happen, what is the impact that they are going to bring back to the business, and how
Okay,
the
sir.
revenues, how the
Okay, sir.
impact,
Okay, sir. சரிங்க சார். அவ்வளவுதான் சார்.
how the change is going to happen. Then we come to the Gen X. They are often overlooked, but actually leading the startup world. If you look at the median age of successful founders here, I know there are people who are, are intelligent enough to start a startup at a very early age. But if you look at a medium age, it is in mid 40s. And millennials are now the establishments driving AI adoption to kill the bureaucracy, right? And finally, the Gen Zs, they are the true digital natives who will comprise approximately 27% of the OECD workforce by 2025. But they are entering a workforce that is automating all the basic level or entry level jobs that they need to learn in the ropes. Not the contraction. Simply hiring more young people isn't a strategy, because there is literally aren't enough of them in developed markets. We must retain and upskill every aspect of the workforce within an organization. Some could be at the very early stage, some could be at the mid, some could be the most senior, most level engineers. So upskilling is one of the areas that we have to focus, or the current industry or the various entities that is involved in has to focus on, to make sure that we are addressing this skill gap. So how are we going to redefine the divide, right? We now have seen what is the divide that is happening, wherein we know the silent, from the silent generation until the Gen Zs who are getting into that, right? So how are we going to redefine that? For years, the digital divide meant was more of who has access to the Wi-Fi and who was able to access things. Structurally, I think from 2016 to 23, there has been a significant change in Americans having a reliable broadband. I think if I'm correct, as per the FCC report, 2016 there were 36 million Americans still lacked a reliable broadband, which is drastically come down to 5+ million now. So our infrastructure baselines are getting evolved as well, right? And but still, this 5+ million pose a kind of a remote work viability options are not being openly given to them. Next is the skill divide. The gap is now defined by the ability to adapt, right? The reskilling pathways are something which is more need to be established. And we also look at the moving target, which is the AI orchestrations that is coming in. Now, the focus is on from access to agency. How are we looking at in the near future? So the mindset shift from asking, can I log in, but to the shift of where you ask, can I command this tool to create the value, which is you build that AI muscle and the AI tool within your organization, so that you may be able to command the AI tool to make sure that you can get the work done for you. So it's like more of how you can find a common coexisting scenario for both of them to operate in their organizations. So that is the level of shift that we are looking at, and that's the agency mindset that we are driving towards to. That's how we are going to look at redefining the divide, right? So it's like, if you could see the image to your left, it says the gap has moved on from having to knowing. So you have everything now. It's just that we have to make sure that how better we can help everyone here to understand and move forward. Cognitive styles. So you have heard about the term natives and immigrants, right? Mark Prensky called this a singularity, a point of no return. But let's be clear on the science. Gen Zs doesn't have a different biology. They have different level of mindset. The rewirings within their mindset is all that makes them look at a different perspective to what we are seeing now. If you look at immigrant style, they are linear processing, singular focused. They want text first, invest in deep work and complex analysis. But if you look at a native style, right, they are more of parallel processing. Their strength is speed and connection. But now, behind all this, we also need to bust the myth of multitasking, right? There are various research that has gone through nowadays where it says that multiple task switching reduces efficiency across the board. It's just not that saying, okay, I can do multiple things at the same time, but then imagine that if you are going to do multiple things at the same time, at given point in time, you are going to achieve a very few tasks for what it has been determined to. Even though if you're going to build AI workflows across three three areas that you're going to work on. Let's say you are planning to invest in something, and then you wanted to build an AI model that can help you gain through all the investment strategies and ideas. Then there is a part where you are solely invested in your company, and then you're trying to bridge or build something that is going to impact your company's business. And then third is all about you trying to build something that you are envisioning that can change as one of the next startup idea. Now, if you think, most of us think that multitasking is good, that we can invest in all this, and now with AI we can go at rapid focus. But no, that's not going to happen. The OG still lies behind, right? So wherein task switching will reduce the efficiency, even if it is being at multi-scale. But to counteract that as well, I would say multitasking is also good, but then it has to be properly utilized in what areas is possible. Next is a competence illusion, right? Just because a young employee can edit a video on their phone in seconds doesn't mean they understand how a file directory or a server's file directory works, or how the file structure has been put in an organizations. When there is, let's say you go for a law firm, they have huge, humongous data structured in their file. How do you maneuver through? Like, let's say if there is a new file that is coming in, how are they going to do that? So there is always the competence solution that is there, right? So you just need to know your deep focus on years of experience can also be one of your habitats that can go on. So what is the psychological dimension to it, right? It's called technostress. If I asked you who's most afraid of AI, probably most of us would think that the senior most person in their career, or someone at their late stages of 50s and 60s might think that are the ones they are very much afraid. Probably an accountant or someone working in a call center are the ones, right? But then if you look at the inert data that has been published by various research organizations, the Gen Z workers are afraid of being replaced by AI in the next 12 months. I would say next 12 to 24 months. They are the ones who are more afraid. Why? Because they have to occupy the most entry-level roles that AI is targeting first. They don't have the experience buffer that Gen X and the experienced folks have. This creates a paradox. The most tech-fluent generation is also the most tech-anxious as well. We also see the techno invasion, the inability to disconnect, driving burnout rates are skyrocketing now among these younger cohorts, which is one of the so-called term of technostress, right? So we have to address that. Is another key thing that the industry has to look at, and how we are going to cater to that. So psychological dimension, another is the tech shame, so which we saw some time back, right? What is exactly this tech shame? This is more of a very new terminology that we can look at. You can look at your left-hand side image, the confidence gap of Gen Z tech skills, right? We perceive their skill at a very high expectations, but then actually when they enter into the enterprise, it's moderately at a medium, low to medium, depending upon the candidate. I won't say not everyone will fall into that, but majority kind of falls into that, right? We assume that every 22-year-old is a tech wizard, but if you grew up on an iPad, you may never have seen the file directory structure or in an organization, right? Apps today are designed to hide complexity. 1 in 5 feel judged, and 25% will actively, young workers are actively looking at to dodge meetings to be avoid being exposed. We are creating a culture of silence where simple training gaps morph into imposter syndromes. Let's look at a little bit more in depth, right, on the identity theft threats, and then the ageism that is being seen across in the industry now. The deficit model, which is now, I picked up this source from Behavioral Information Technology magazine, where organizations often operate on the false assumption that older adults cannot learn new technologies, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of disengagement. So this is wholly, if you look at the reality, it is not the case actually. But then this is one of the areas that is being widely looked at here. And when it comes to designing anything, there is an exclusion that happens where digital native interfaces often use visual density, low contrast, and hidden navigations that specifically alienate older users. This is predominantly existing now, and this was published in the National Library of Medicine, wherein when a website gets built or any kind of app gets built or any video that is getting pulled out, they form a digital native interface where they create something with low contrast and hidden navigation so that it is not possible for the experienced ones to even handle that, right, which kind of automatically alienate those users. Now, this is also putting into the deficit model, right? The current digital natives are also going to be the experienced ones later in the pipeline. What are the mental health impact? The digital divide is a confirmed driver of social isolations and depression in older adults when they feel cut off from the modern communications. From my own personal experience, I have seen, WhatsApp was one of where it was utilized by probably 10 years ago, where it was utilized by many of the young generations, right? And now that I could see it's being utilized across the board. But the shift that I could see from someone using the young generation to the elder ones, right? They still need constant support from the person who knows how to handle any kind of digital medium of communication, right? How to operate that. Let's say if you want to send a file, a document, or a photo to a relation saying that, hey, I went to this place, they need that support. So this is one of the serious mental health impact that is happening, and this is also been published in the survey on health, aging, and retirement in Europe. The recruitment bias as well. The automated algorithms, hiring algorithms, kind of filter out older candidates based on the graduation year and then the digital buzzwords and everything, right? So if you look at all this that is being published, but the reality shows that the older adults are just as interested in education but require different learning orientations based on experience. It's about how you are going to feed a child, right? Not every child would want the same level of portion of food for everyone. It is about knowing what they want and how are you going to adjust that to their medium so that they don't feel disengaged, and they also learn and they also grow with the current unified structure. Okay, let's shift from all the psychological forefront to the tech front lines, right? How technology is foreseeing this bridging gap. The Tower of Babel that you look at your right-hand side is real. We aren't just using different tools. We are speaking different languages. To experienced person, a phone call is efficient. It conveys tone and nuance. So when an experienced person talks to someone who's younger to them or probably their peer, they kind of look at that perspective to be understand what they are going through from emotional perspective, and what is the intent that they are trying to say are all something which they are more convenient to. But when it comes to someone as a Gen Z employee, an unscheduled phone call is a panic for them. They wonder, like, probably I'm still available in text, right? So why not text first, and then if it is needed or if it is something which really requires to go through that, let's go through the call and the video call and everything, right? Conversely, millennials are making decisions in Slack channels that Gen X leaders aren't even reading. This fragmentation creates information silos where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is typing. We need to establish the Rosetta Stone for internal communications, right? So this is just to give you the inner picture of what the Tower of Babel is, right? So every other people in their own groups or age groups, they have their own different medium of way that they want to communicate, right? And so we need to establish the proper methodology on how we can do it. That would solve a lot of these gaps that we see from the technological forefront, which will not also put a psychological stress to the various entities within this group, which are Gen Zs and the Gen X, right? Now, we saw the communication aspects, right? Let's look at the generative AI. Who's leading the AI revolution now? Surprisingly, it's not the Gen Zs, but the millennials are the ones who are championing that. They are enthusiasts using AI to cut through the middle layer, and Gen Z is using it too, but you see the tools automating the various tasks they need to do to learn the business. Meanwhile, the experienced are lagging, which creates a velocity gap. One of the team is moving at AI speed, the other at an analog speed. And we want 83% of the workers are self-teaching. That means shadow AI is rampant. Unapproved tools being used with company data being officially training is too slow. So this is all expected, and we are facing this currently, and we have to be geared up to what we are going to do on that next. So now the current tectonic shift, which is the agentic AI, right? The industry is moving from Gen AI to agentic AI, where everything was, at least 2 years back, it was all chatbots that create text and everything, to now everything is autonomous and you execute workflows where the agents can, if you want to, the current Gemini 3 Pro, right, wherein it is even more fast in generating images to the accuracy of what your prompt is. This is if I could see the earlier versions where we had to retrain the model again and again to get your exact output. While 92% of the company plan to increase AI investment, only 1% leaders consider their organizations mature in deployment, which is a huge gap. And that need between the intent of having AI versus execution, where it is being deployed into the execution, right, which has to be reduced as we move forward in the next 2 to 3 years. Super agency. This is a critical skill in 2025. The ability to define goals, set guardrails, and audit the output of an autonomous agent, which is very prevalent now, and this is should be widely adopted, and it is on the verge of improving. So we spoke about a lot of agentic AIs, Gen AIs. So what is a human advantage here, right? Governing agents require deep institutional knowledge and systematic thinking, traits where experienced digital immigrants often excel. So, but right now, this is where the human advantage comes in when in the era of agentic AI. So the last of the tech frontline we want to look at is the spatial computing part. as we enter the industrial metaverse, so-called, the divide becomes physical now. So you have you can see something physically, but then when you wear your meta glasses or your 3D glasses or your so-called the different level of spatial computing glasses that is there, you go into a different world altogether, right? So I still get think of I still get the what is the movie called? Yeah, The Matrix. So that is something which comes to me when I look at this kind of area that is booming in, right? So what are the physical barriers that we can see? Older workers face physiological challenges with ER and AR, including presbyopia and higher susceptible to motion sickness. But the integration gap, 70% of the digital transformation initiatives fail due to poor integration with physical realities, often because experienced workers weren't consulted. That is so true, because you can think about the digital transformation that is more imminent, but then when it comes to experienced workers, how they value the physical reality versus how they value the digital reality, there is going to be a gap. We need to bridge that gap, right? So, and we can't ignore this as well. The solution is the pilot or the co-pilot model. Imagine a factory digital twin. The young pilot manipulates the 3D model while the experienced co-pilot analyzes the data and diagnoses the problem. It combines digital speed with analog wisdom, right? So we need to look at the collaboration model so that when it comes to the front line of organization where both these entities work together, so one owns the part where do the initial lifting and everything, while the other kind of starts feeding into the pieces where there is a huge block that is observed. So we looked at the psychological aspects, we looked at the technological forefronts of how this divide is happening. Now, what are the economic stakes of having these two entities here, right? So one of the areas that has been put together is the talent shortage, right? By 2030, a global shortage of tech-skilled workers could result in $8.5 trillion in unrealized revenue. So it's a source from Conferry. Cost of disengagement. Low employee engagement costs the global economy 8.8 trillion annually. This was a source from Gallup, which focuses mainly on workforce. Retention risk, 60% of the Gen Z workers state they will leave the companies that fail to offer modern digital upskilling, driving up turnover cost. And sectoral risk as well. The manufacturing sector alone faces a deficit of millions of workers by 2030, which is an indirect impact to the global supply chains. Now, let's say what is going to happen, right? If you don't engage your experienced, they will retire early, taking their knowledge with them. We literally cannot afford to let this divide continue, right? So that is indirect. I won't say indirectly probably now, but then it is going to have a direct impact into the economy as it is moving forward. So far we analyzed what was the convergence point, then what is currently happening, what are the the generic viewpoints that is happening, and the two aspects of this digital divide. One is from the psychological aspect and the other is a technological shift, which how they both are contributing to that, and what are the economic impact that is being caused because of these two specific entities that is there. So we looked at all this. Now, so far we have looked at what is the current problem, what is revolving, what is expected of what is expected of the problem as the years go by, right, in the future. Now, what are the common solutions that we can attempt to solve this issue? First one is called the DQ framework. It's called Digital Intelligence Framework. This is a global standard that assesses the digital literacy across 8 critical domains. Just moving from a simple technical skill to include safety, emotional intelligence, and rights. Let's look at what are the 8 critical areas that DQ framework solves. Identity, use, safety, security, cybersecurity, emotional intelligence, literacy, communication, and rights. The reason for it to cover all these wider aspects of these critical areas is because within an organization, within a society, where when we have these composition of folks here, it has to cover the entirety of what they are, and to cover the entirety of it, these critical areas are being sorted out and being observed now. So this allows us to stop saying older workers are bad at tech and start saying the specific employee needs training in digital security. It moves us from stereotypes to specific actionable competency maps. Companies, there was a very valid example, right? A client of the company Infosys have already used this DQ framework to upskill thousands of their employees effectively. And if I could quote the rough numbers, it was almost 4,500 workers and 32,000 or 4,500 workers, roughly about them, got skilled in this. So we looked at the DQ framework. Now let's look at another solution, which is called reciprocal mentoring. This is totally looking at moving from reverse mentoring, one way, the young teaches the world, to reciprocal mentoring, two-way mutual exchange of value. So it's very simple, right? Forget the reverse mentoring, where the kid teaches the senior most person how to use TikTok. That's a tech support and not mentoring. Reciprocal mentoring is a trade. The junior employees can share insights on the AI tools and the Gen Z culture. In exchange, the senior leader shares how to navigate office nuances, the business decisions, how they cater to that, how they make decisions, what is the mindset shift that they need to bring in. So it turns the relationship into a partnership of equals. The key here is the psychological safety. It must be safe to say, I don't know. When both the entities who are going to adopt this solution, when they come to a mindset saying that, yes, I don't know, it is very easier for both of them to adopt this kind of a mentoring scenario where they both can bring their plus points to the table and contemplate against each other to make sure that what the person A does not have can be taken from the person B, and what the person B does not have can be taken from person A. There is a mutual support mechanism that establishes, and the person A and person B could be someone junior most in the industry and someone who could be senior most in the industry. That way, there is a lot more of a mentoring really happens both ways, and then the culture of looking at everyone as equal kind of grows as well in this. Now, we saw two solutions, right? Let's look at some of the case studies where these have been implemented. So the company Unilever, they had a challenge. The World Economic Forum kind of predicted 50% of the workforce would need reskilling by 2025. So Unilever, in that case, needed the agility. So what was the solution? So they implemented something called Flex Experiences, an AI-powered talent marketplace. What it did is it first it took up all the employees' skill set, and then it also looked out all the projects that is available currently in the Unilever's portfolio, right? So it started effectively mapping them so that their skills are mapped to the projects that they can work on. At the same time, this opportunity kind of has boomed up, right? So let's say if a 22-year-old in HR knows video editing, they can get matched to a marketing project. This breaks down the silo and age hierarchies instantly. The result, Unilever saw a 41% productivity boost and a culture where raising your hand to learn something new is celebrated and not punished. The so-called the gig economy that we are driving towards stories. So the purpose of the alignment is that the platform aligns projects with personal purpose, a key driver for millennial and the Gen Z retention within the company. So they were successful and the productivity did boost for 41%. Let's look at the case study of Siemens. How did they adopt to this kind of the tectonic shift that we are discussing now? So the Siemens is more of a engineering company, right? Where they start manufacturing. They were pioneers in manufacturing medical devices and everything, but they also need to be ready for the digital future that is coming. So they prepared a program called the People Development at Communications, where they adopted the reverse mentoring pro solution that we spoke about, where pairing the senior executives with the junior digital natives. In that way, they were able to achieve the mindset of both of them coming to the table saying that I don't know. And the junior employees realized, before going to that, when the reverse, the best thing of the win for the reverse mentoring is the trust that you get from both of them, right? Now the junior employees realized their bosses were human and open to learning. The senior bosses realized that the junior most employees were actually passionate and innovative. So it brought in the cultural divide that is there, and then it's often wider than the digital one, right? So it was able to bridge that gap, and then they are able to build the trust between both of them. One of the final case studies that I want to look at is the MasterCard. So MasterCard is using AI to fight the network gap. The Gen Z workers often don't know the right people to get ahead. MasterCard's Unlocked platform uses AI to act as a career coach, matching employees to mentors and projects they wouldn't find otherwise. It also monitors for burnout, protecting that anxious Gen Z cohort we discussed. They have 90% adoption. This proves that if you build digital tools that actually help employees develop, other than just surveil them, they will use them actually. Outcome, MasterCard reports strong adoption of internal talent tools, unlocking thousands of project hours and facilitating internal mobility. Excuse me. Let's look at the future outlook from 2025 to 2030. What are something which is expected, right? The hybrid organization. Research suggests that the rise of organizations characterized by hybrid intelligent teams where humans and agentic AI collaborate extensively. The good news, AI can act as an equalizer, helping young workers get to speed faster. The AI divide will be about collaboration skills, and ironically, as the machines get faster at coding and calculating, the skills that will be most valuable are the ones the machines can't do, just empathy, ethics, and complex negotiations. The soft skills of the senior most persons are about to become the hard currency of the future. Where it's very evident that the human skills that we looked at are coming back, and the skill churn that we are looking at is a substantial portion of the current skill set will be outdated between 2025 to 2030. This is necessitating a culture of lifelong learning, right? So, which is also evident here. So, few recommendations that you need to look at from the psychology forefront as well as from the structural forefront of building this kind of an ecosystem. First, what are the safety measures that you have to put in from psychological aspects? The tech shame audit, right? So what do we do? First, fix the psychological aspect of it, right? create a safe space called a genius bar, where anyone from the intern to the senior most person in the organizations can ask a basic tech question without being judged. Leaders in the organization or the society should have to go first, so that it gives them the sense of the investment that they are ready to make for themselves, as well as that also kind of inspires the younger ones to follow them. If you admit you are struggling with a new tool, you give permissions for everyone else to learn. And let's not call the digital natives, it sets them up to a fail when they encounter a tool that they haven't seen before. Always look at an inclusive design. Audit internal softwares for accessibility to prevent design exclusions and support an aging workforce as well. Well-being check-ins. Use data to monitor the techno innovation and burnout. Always enforce a right to disconnect policies to protect all generations, so that there is a uniform growth across the board in the society as well as in every organization. So how are we going to look at from the structural aspect of building this, right? Instead of just having everything as coffee chats, move it to a structural program with clear goals, timelines, and confidentiality agreements. Adopt the DQ standards, the digital intelligence standards that we discussed about. Stop using age as a proxy for skill, right? Assess employees using the DQ framework to identify specific gaps and target training. Always when a training material or training has been designed, it should be cognitive diversity, right? It should cater to the senior most as well as it should cater to the younger most in the society and the organization. And the cross-generational plots. Structure agile teams to deliberately include mixed gaps in the age force, right? Forcing them to perceive everyone as one. So let everyone teach and everyone learn. Something kind of a scenario that we need to start enforcing to everyone, right? This kind of creates intergenerational employee resource groups and force them those collisions between the age groups, right? Which is completely avoided in this kind of a scenario. Okay. So coming to the conclusion of it, right? There are 5 key takeaways that I want to emphasize here. So what we looked at so far, before we get into this, right? So we looked at the summary of what is the current trend, what are the workforce that we have currently in the society as well as the industry specifically or the organization. How did the digital divide happen from a psychological perspective as well as from a digital technological perspective. Then we also looked at how we can address using a common solution for that. Then we did go through some of the case studies that the big enterprises adopted and what is the result that there is achieved because of adopting to those frameworks. Also, we looked at some of the recommendations from psychological as well as from the structural forefront of building these programs. Now, the 5 key takeaways to take it forward is we need to accept the reality. There is going to be a gap. Let's say earlier it was experienced, then the millennials, the Gen X, then we are looking at Gen Zs. So there is going to be the gap that is going to be imminent, right? It is something which you can't solve for. But the digital divide is a solvable design challenge. It's something which is existing as a, I would say probably a myth, but it can be solved, but not a generational gap. We just need to accept, and then we need to change our mindset to that is existing. So how are we going to better solve that? We need to look at both these workforce as the asset, right? The senior most people bring in the structure or their perspectives are critical and diversity, and the system knowledge that they have about what is happening is the key. At the same time, the current trend that is moving in, they also need to be adopted, or they need to be trained on the fluid intelligence, which is the ground AI that we are looking at. The urgency part. By 2030, there is a lot of talent shortage that is going to come in. Every company and every government should look at, see how they can better help match the skill gap for all this workforce. The pivot, how are you going to achieve that? The leaders are the ones to take the first step so that the rest of the cohort can follow them, so that they indirectly influence a lot of people. So let's say the leader takes the first shift, they influence two cohorts, those two cohorts influence the rest of the cohort. So as it moves on, so you will be able to achieve the digital or I would say circumvent the digital divide challenge that we are going through. The final call, start today by assessing your team's digital intelligence, right? Pairing your first reciprocal mentors and asking, are we designing for the workforce we have or the one we imagine? So with this note, I'm going to conclude my talk and let me know if there's anything I can help. Thank you so much for providing this opportunity.
Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Proceed.
Sir?
I invite Uma ma'am to
Yes.
propose the vote of thanks.
Okay, sir. Good morning, all. It's my honor and privilege to conclude today's enlightening session, the generic talk series titled The New Digital Divide, Bridging the Workplace Generation Gap. First of all, I would like to praise and thank our God Almighty for making this generic talk series a successful one. I am deeply grateful to our guest speaker of honor, Mr. Sairam Murali, Senior Engineering Manager, Global Data Analytics, Bangalore, for accepting our invitation even in his busy schedule. A wonderful and insightful lecture was delivered by Mr. Sairam Murali. His clear and engaging presentation enriched with real-life examples, especially on mental health impact, agentic AI, and spatial computing, and introduced valuable solutions such as DQ framework and reciprocal mentoring, inspiring both students and faculty. He encouraged everyone to keep planning, adapt to digital changes, and build the right mindset to succeed in today's fast-changing technology world. Thank you, sir. I would like to express my sincere thanks to our Honorable Chairperson, Srimati Manchula Muniratnam, Founder and Chairman, Sri R.S. Muniratnam, Director, Sri R. Jyoti Naidu, and Vice Chairman, R.M. Kishore, for their unwavering support and encouragement in organizing such enriching program for our students and faculty. I extend my gratitude to our respected Secretary, Sri Elementary Pradeep, Vice Chairperson, Dr. Durga Devi Pradeep, and Trustee, Srimati Soumya Kishore, for their generous support in making this event possible. A heartfelt thanks to our principal, Dr. K. A. Muhammad Junaid, for his for his constant motivation. I extend my gratitude to our respected Dr. Elvin Chandramoni, Dean of Research, Dr. K. Manivandan, Dean of External Affairs, and KK Sivanyana Prabhu, Dean of CDC, for their valuable guidance and support. A special note of thanks to Dr. K. Chidambaratanu, Professor and Head, Department of Computer Science and Business System, for his support in organizing this generic talk series. I also thank Dr. V.R. Kavita, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Business Systems, for her thoughtful and engaging introduction to our guest speaker. As the says goes, helping hands are better than praying lips. Thank you once again to all the helping hands who made this event possible. A big thank to all the faculty members, technical staff, and volunteers who worked tirelessly behind the scene to ensure the smooth execution of today's event. And finally, a warm thank you to all our faculty and students who joined us virtually through YouTube and Zoom. Your active participation in what made this session truly meaningful. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again, Sairam. Thank you for spending your valuable time.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.